Breakfast cereal was once sold as the heart-healthy way to start your day. But for seniors, many popular brands are loaded with hidden sugars, chemical additives, and sodium levels that can spike blood pressure and strain aging kidneys. What looks harmless in a colorful box may be slowly sabotaging your health. Today, we're exposing 9 cereals you must avoid, and the 2 that are actually safe. Coming in at number 9, we've got Frosted Flakes, the cereal that smiles on the box but sabotages your body. They look great on the box. In your body, not so much. That striped tiger promises energy, fun, and a bowl of strength to start the day. But behind the friendly grin is one of the sugariest cereals on the shelf. Here's the betrayal. Frosted Flakes is nearly 40% sugar by weight. That means almost half of what you're pouring into your bowl isn't corn. It's refined sugar crystals glued onto every flake. It's candy disguised as breakfast. The CDC estimates kids eat over 10 pounds of sugar every year just from cereal, and seniors who pick it up for nostalgia aren't far behind. Dessert in disguise. That first spoonful coats your tongue with syrup. The flakes stick to your teeth. And after 2 minutes in milk, you're drinking a bowl of liquid candy water. For seniors, a sugar hit this heavy first thing in the morning is a disaster. Blood sugar spikes, memory function takes a dip, and your heart has to work overtime. Researchers at the University of Bath found that high-sugar breakfasts impair attention and can strain cardiovascular health within hours. That's not energy, it's a roller coaster crash. Fortified with regret. The box screams about vitamins and minerals, but sprinkling synthetic B12 over sugar flakes doesn't erase the damage. It's like putting a seatbelt on a car with no brakes. And the sugar isn't the only villain here. Kellogg's Frosted Flakes often contain BHT preservatives, flagged by scientists for potential links to endocrine disruption. Europe has stricter rules, but in the US, they're still sitting in every bowl. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. even called out cereals like these as safer overseas than they are here. So why are American seniors eating a chemical cocktail that other countries already question? Now think about seniors on heart meds, diabetes drugs, or blood pressure pills. That sugar rush fights against every pill in your cabinet. One whistleblower dietitian in a senior care forum even said, "Frosted Flakes undoes a whole morning of meds before lunch." So what's the fix? Skip the cartoon box. Instead, go for plain oats topped with real sliced fruit. You get natural sweetness, steady fiber, and a bowl that doesn't leave your pancreas waving a white flag. It's simple, affordable, and it actually supports heart health. One cookie, one collapse? Try one bowl, one sugar crash. That tiger's grin, it hides the crash waiting on the other side of your spoon. And if you thought plain oats were safe, wait until you see how Cheerios tricks you. At number 8, Cheerios with added flavors, the cereal that wears a heart on its box but leaves scars inside your body. Heart healthy? Only until the sugar hits. For decades, plain Cheerios built its reputation as the safe, heart-smart pick. Doctors recommended it. Ads plastered that big red heart across every grocery aisle. But then General Mills got greedy. They rolled out Honey Nut, Frosted, and all the candy-coated cousins. And suddenly, that halo of trust turned into a sugar trap. Sweet lies in every O. Honey Nut Cheerios can pack up to 4 times the sugar of plain Cheerios. What starts as a healthy bowl is closer to a glazed donut chopped into rings. Seniors counting carbs for diabetes. Management get blindsided. That morning spoonful can trigger a blood sugar spike sharp enough to leave you dizzy by lunch. And the betrayal doesn't stop with sugar. Consumer Reports found traces of glyphosate, a weed killer chemical, in oat supplies used for flavored Cheerios. That's the same pesticide that sparked lawsuits linking it to cancer concerns. Europe restricts it more aggressively, but in the US, it's still slipping into breakfast bowls with no warning label. Trusted name to tainted truth. Ever notice that glazed sweetness sticking to your teeth? Or that faint chemical aftertaste after you swallow? That's not heart health, that's a cocktail of additives that stress your kidneys, especially if you're already on blood pressure or cholesterol medication. Doctors warn that the added sodium and preservatives in flavored versions can interact with meds, straining older bodies instead of protecting them. Seniors who switched from plain Cheerios to Honey Nut for flavor often end up consuming an extra 10 to 12 grams of sugar per serving without realizing it. That's nearly half the sugar in a can of soda before you even finish your morning coffee. And think about the trust factor. This isn't some neon-colored kids' cereal. This is a brand that built its empire on credibility. When they push the fortified with vitamins line while pouring sugar and chemical glaze into every box, that's not nutrition. It's marketing dressed as medicine. So what's the fix? Stick to plain Cheerios, or better yet, choose an organic oat cereal tested for pesticide safety. Add your own fruit for flavor. That way, you control the sweetness and skip the chemical baggage. Heart smart on the box, heart strain in the bowl. That's the truth behind flavored Cheerios. Cheerios faked the heart. But next, a rainbow-colored bowl that squeaks like styrofoam and leaves chemical stains behind. Sliding into number 7, Lucky Charms, the so-called magically delicious cereal that's less magic, more chemical trick. Those pastel marshmallows? They're chemical candy in disguise. Advertisers sold us fun rainbows and leprechaun magic. What we actually got was a bowl full of artificial dyes and refined starch. Magic or madness? Let's talk about those marshmallows. They squeak under your teeth like styrofoam, leaving behind a cloying sweetness that coats your tongue. The bright blues, neon pinks, and glowing greens? That comes from petroleum-based food dyes like Yellow 5, Blue 1, and Red 40. Studies have linked these dyes to hyperactivity in kids, and some are banned or restricted in Europe. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. even called out how U.S. regulators lag far behind on keeping toxic colors out of food. Yet here they are, dumped straight into a box that parents pour for breakfast. And it's not just the marshmallows. The cereal base is basically starch and sugar. That means the minute it hits your stomach, your blood sugar rockets up, forcing your pancreas to pump out insulin at full throttle. For seniors already managing diabetes or heart meds, that's not breakfast. That's a glucose roller coaster. Repeated spikes like that wear down your system, leaving you tired, foggy, and vulnerable to long-term complications. Rainbow-colored regret. Nutritionists warn that just one serving can contain the same sugar load as a frosted donut. Add milk, and you're drinking sweet syrup by the last spoonful. The FDA allows these dyes in limited amounts, but watchdog groups keep flagging them as unsafe for children and vulnerable adults. Should seniors really gamble their kidney health on marshmallows shaped like moons and clovers? In 2022, consumer complaints spiked after people reported nausea and even vomiting tied to eating Lucky Charms. The FDA opened an investigation after thousands of reports flooded in. No official recall happened, but the headlines alone were enough to make people question what magic really means. So drop the cartoon colors. Try whole grain muesli with dried fruit. You get crunch, natural sweetness, and actual fiber that supports digestion instead of tearing it down. Your lucky day? Not if you eat this bowl. Want to stay ahead of food dangers and hidden risks? Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the facts that could protect your health. Coming in at number 6, Corn Flakes, the so-called original healthy cereal that's really just a bowl of empty starch. Marketed for over a century as wholesome, Corn Flakes were pushed as the simple, safe choice for families. Kellogg's ads showed clean mornings, happy families, and that golden bowl that was supposed to mean good health. But what's actually inside? A cereal stripped bare of natural fiber then sprayed with sugar and preservatives to keep you hooked. Healthy hype, hollow truth. Real corn has fiber that helps digestion, but once it's processed into flakes, most of that fiber is gone. What's left is starch that breaks down fast, sending blood sugar levels through the roof. For seniors, that means insulin spikes, energy crashes, and a higher risk of constipation. Doctors have long warned that fiber is key for older adults, yet this healthy cereal delivers almost none. Within minutes of hitting milk, cornflakes collapse into a soggy mush that clings to the spoon like wallpaper paste. That bland, papery texture fools you into thinking it's harmless. But underneath the taste of nothing is the problem. You're eating refined starch that does little more than stress your system. Bland danger. A report from Harvard School of Public Health showed that low-fiber, high-glycemic cereals like cornflakes are tied to increased risk of type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Seniors relying on this bowl every morning aren't protecting their hearts. They're quietly making things worse. And let's not forget sodium. Even plain cornflakes contain added salt, which puts pressure on aging kidneys and raises blood pressure. Add the sugar dusted on top during manufacturing, and the betrayal becomes clear. Kellogg's sells it as a health legacy, but what they're really moving is refined starch dressed up as nutrition. When the FDA looked into processed cereals, cornflakes landed near the bottom for nutrient density. You'd get more fiber from a slice of whole wheat bread than from an entire bowl of flakes. For seniors, that missing fiber means slower digestion, weaker gut health, and higher risks of cholesterol buildup. Skip the cardboard mush. Go for steel-cut oats or rolled oats instead. Add fresh fruit for flavor and fiber. It keeps blood sugar stable and digestion moving the way it should. Cornflakes, the ghost of nutrition. Cornflakes gave you bland. Now get ready for fluorescent chaos, rings of color that bleed into chemical milk. Rolling in at number 5, we've got Fruit Loops, the rainbow rings that promise fruity fun but deliver nothing but chemical chaos. The box shouts fruit. The toucan mascot beams with cheer. The ads tell you it's part of a balanced breakfast, but peel back the marketing, and you'll see there's not a single drop of real fruit in those neon rings. The betrayal couldn't be clearer. It's sugar and petroleum-based dyes packed into a cereal that's more candy than breakfast. Fruit or fraud? Each cup of Fruit Loops comes with nearly 12 grams of sugar, and that's before the milk. Pour a standard serving, and you've already outsweetened a glazed donut. And it's not just the sugar. Those bright colors come from red 40, yellow 5, and blue 1, synthetic dyes linked by researchers to hyperactivity in kids and flagged for potential cancer risks. Europe has slapped warning labels on some of these dyes, while the FDA still allows them here. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has even called out how ingredients considered unsafe overseas continue to line U.S. grocery shelves. When you add milk, the colors start to bleed, leaving behind a bowl of grayish liquid that looks more like a failed science experiment than food. That chemical sheen doesn't just stain the milk. It coats your tongue with a strange aftertaste that lingers long after breakfast. Rainbow rings. Hidden sting. For seniors, the danger goes deeper. The sugar surge slams the kidneys and puts extra strain on the liver. Add common medications into the mix, blood pressure pills, cholesterol drugs, diabetes meds, and you've got a toxic cocktail your body has to process before you've even had your morning coffee. One spoonful may not feel like much, but years of daily hits like this build up into real health problems. Consumer watchdog groups have pointed out how Kellogg's markets Fruit Loops as fun while quietly skirting the real issue. No fiber, no fruit, and plenty of chemicals your body doesn't need. It's not just misleading, it's dangerous for anyone managing aging organs and sensitive systems. So skip the dye parade and make your bowl colorful the natural way. Try plain oats topped with freeze-dried fruit. You'll still get the sweet crunch and the burst of color, but without the chemical sludge that comes with Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops? More like dye loops. You think brand means better? Think again, because the next box coats raisins in sugar thicker than donut glaze. Dropping into number 4, we've got Raisin Bran, the so-called healthy cereal hiding behind a sticky sugar coat. The word bran whispers health, fiber, regular digestion. A smart choice, that's the promise. But pour a bowl and taste reality. Those raisins aren't natural little gems. They're rolled in sugar and left glistening like candy. What looks like virtue is actually a trap. A serving of Raisin Bran contains more sugar than a glazed donut. The American Heart Association warns seniors to limit added sugar to about 25 grams per day. One healthy bowl of Raisin Bran? You're already halfway there, and that's before you add milk. Brand scam. And it's not just about numbers on a label. Bite into those raisins and they stick to your teeth like glue. The coating melts into a syrupy aftertaste that clings to your mouth long after you've swallowed. That syrup fuels bacteria, upping your risk for cavities and gum disease. For older adults already battling dental issues, that's more bills at the dentist. The sugar spike doesn't stop at your teeth. It rockets through your bloodstream, forcing your pancreas to pump out insulin. Over time, that cycle worsens insulin resistance, the very condition Raisin Bran eaters think they're avoiding. Studies have shown that seniors who eat high-sugar breakfasts have sharper glucose swings, leading to fatigue, brain fog, and long-term risks like type 2 diabetes. Fiber trap. A whistleblower dietitian once joked, "Raisin Bran is a donut in a suit." The fiber might be real, but it's wearing a sugary disguise that tricks shoppers into feeling safe. Kellogg's markets it with sunny ads and a big purple box, but the betrayal is in the glaze. For seniors juggling meds for blood pressure, cholesterol, or kidney health, that sugar load is dangerous. It strains the kidneys and works against what your prescriptions are trying to fix. Think about it. Why swallow pills at breakfast just to cancel them out with your cereal? So what you can do is keep the bran, ditch the sugar. Go for plain bran flakes and add your own unsweetened raisins or sliced fruit. You'll still get the fiber without the candy-like glaze that wrecks your system. It's a simple swap, but it can save your pancreas and your wallet down the road. Raisin Bran, sugar in a suit. From raisins glued in syrup to jagged squares sharp enough to shred gums, brace for the Cap'n's sugary assault. Sliding into number 3, we've got Cap'n Crunch, the cereal that scratches more than just nostalgia. The promise is clear: fun mornings, a smiling captain, and crunchy golden squares that never go soggy. But the betrayal hits quick. Pour a bowl, and you're looking at nearly 12 grams of sugar per cup, preservatives like BHT, and jagged little squares sharp enough to scrape the roof of your mouth. Sharp crunch, sharper risks. Ever felt that raw sting after a few bites? That's not a quirky side effect. It's a design flaw that Quaker never fixed. Staff forums joked it's sandpaper in a box, but the company kept selling it, banking on nostalgia. Seniors eating Cap'n Crunch aren't just risking mouth scrapes. That sugar rush hits the bloodstream, raising blood pressure, straining kidneys, and forcing the heart to push harder. Add in BHT, a preservative flagged in some studies for possible carcinogenic risks, and you're eating a chemistry experiment. Europe has tighter rules on these additives, but here, the FDA still allows it. Safer in Europe, but sold full throttle in US supermarkets. Fun or fraud? Now picture the sensory horror. The first crunch feels bold, but soon the pieces turn into a gummy film that sticks to your teeth. The sugar-coated paste lingers, feeding bacteria and setting you up for cavities. For seniors with dentures or gum issues, that's a nightmare in every spoonful. Stat check. 1 cup of Cap'n Crunch has as much sugar as a frosted cupcake. Eat a normal bowl, more like 2 cups, and you've doubled that. The American Diabetes Association warns against these morning sugar bombs, yet Quaker still markets it with cheerful commercials. And what about the nostalgia angle? Sure, it feels playful to eat what you had as a kid, but for a 55-year-old juggling meds for blood pressure or kidney health, this is like pouring gasoline on a fire. Each bite adds strain where your body least needs it. Crunch with consequences. So what's the fix? Drop the Cap'n and pick a cereal with real staying power. Whole grain granola with nuts gives you crunch, protein, and fiber without the chemical aftertaste. You'll still get that satisfying bite, but this time it fuels your body instead of wearing it down. Cap'n Crunch? More like Cap'n Crash. Crunch scrape the roof of your mouth. But the diet cereal scam? It scrapes your health one salty flake at a time. Landing at number 2, we've got Special K, the cereal that claims to slim your waist but really fattens your risks. The marketing sells it as the diet cereal. Crisp flakes, light packaging, and commercials showing women slipping into smaller jeans. But the betrayal is hidden in the fine print. Special K isn't slimming your waistline. It's slimming your nutrition. The slim cereal that fattens your risks. 1 serving has a sodium punch that rivals a bag of chips. Sodium might sound harmless, but for seniors, it's a blood pressure time bomb. Add in artificial flavors, synthetic vitamins, and preservatives like BHT, and you've got a cocktail that doesn't belong in a health food. Ever notice the squeak when those flakes grind between your teeth? That's not crisp elegance. It's a chalky crunch that ends with a chemical aftertaste. One ex-employee even admitted on a staff forum, "We sprayed the flakes for texture. It wasn't about nutrition. So much for wholesome." Wholesome. That sodium load isn't just a number on a label. It collides with blood pressure meds, interacts with diuretics, and makes the heart work harder. Doctors warn that seniors combining high-sodium foods with prescriptions risk kidney strain and dizzying pressure spikes. FDA reports confirm these additives can worsen side effects in vulnerable groups. Special K or special risk? And let's talk about the illusion. Kellogg's leaned hard into the Special K challenge, a marketing gimmick promising weight loss if you swapped meals for bowls of flakes. But nutritionists shredded it. Yes, calories dropped, but so did protein, healthy fats, and real fiber. The result? Short-term loss, long-term rebound, and an increased risk of deficiencies. Your body isn't fooled by branding. Diet myth? Real danger. Here's where it hits seniors hardest. If you're already managing hypertension, heart disease, or kidney issues, Special K loads your system with stress it can't afford. That's not breakfast, that's sabotage. Toss the box and build a real meal. Plain Greek yogurt with berries delivers protein, probiotics, and natural sweetness. You'll get energy that lasts, not a chemical crash. It's a breakfast that works with your body, not against it. Special K sells itself as your weight loss partner, but in reality, it's just another processed cereal stuffed with additives and sodium spikes. Special K. Slimming your nutrition, not your waistline. You thought diet lies were dangerous? The next cereal nearly poisoned a nation, with sugar bombs and salmonella in one box. Taking the number 1 spot, it's Honey Smacks, the cereal that nearly poisoned a nation. Kellogg's promised wholesome honey sweetness, a friendly frog on the box, a golden glaze that sparkled in the bowl. But behind that cheerful pitch, a cereal that's more than 60% sugar and once carried a salmonella outbreak that sent shockwaves through the country. The cereal that nearly poisoned a nation. Back in 2018, the FDA and CDC recalled Honey Smacks after salmonella was found in boxes shipped across the U.S. More than 100 people fell sick in 33 states. That's not breakfast, that's a nationwide health hazard. Yet, the cereal crept back onto shelves after the recall, with the same sticky glaze and the same sugar load. Each serving of Honey Smacks has nearly 15 grams of sugar. That's half of what seniors should eat in an entire day, gone in a single bowl. Add milk, maybe a banana, and you're starting your morning with a diabetic landmine. Honey Trap. The sensory horror hits right away. The puffs stick together in syrupy clumps, leaving a tacky glaze on your fingers and a gummy coat on your teeth. Chew them down, and the glaze turns into a syrup that clings to the back of your throat. That sweetness feels indulgent at first, but it's a sugar punch your pancreas has to wrestle with. Here's the real danger for seniors. That much sugar spikes blood sugar fast, then crashes it, straining kidneys, overloading the cardiovascular system, and leaving you sluggish. For anyone managing diabetes or on heart meds, this cereal doesn't just break promises, it breaks your body's defenses. Sweet poison. And let's not forget the betrayal. Kellogg's sold Honey Smacks for decades as a wholesome honey cereal, yet the main ingredient is sugar, not whole grains, not oats, not even honey in any meaningful amount. They dressed candy up as breakfast, slapped a frog on the box, and got away with it until the salmonella scandal ripped the mask off. A health inspector once put it bluntly, "This isn't cereal. It's sugar held together with starch." Seniors trying to stay healthy don't need that betrayal in their pantry. So skip the frog. Overnight oats with raw honey give you real fiber, slow-release energy, and the natural sweetness the box pretends to have. You'll still get the flavor without the sugar storm or the risk of contamination. Honey Smacks. Sweet, sickly sabotage. After that sticky disaster, let's breathe. Not all cereals kill. 2 cereals actually pass the test. First up in our bonus picks, Original Cheerios, the rare cereal that actually earns its spot at the table. No cartoon mascots, no neon colors, no sugary glaze that glues your teeth together. Just a plain yellow box with a simple promise. Whole grain oats in ring form. And shockingly, it delivers. Simple oat, solid choice. Unlike the sugar bombs we've just marched through, Cheerios stays low in sugar. Only about 1 gram per serving. Compare that to Honey Smacks at nearly 15 grams, and you see why Cheerios has stood the test of time. There's no syrupy glaze, no chemical candy coating, and no FDA recall linked to salmonella. Just toasted oats that crunch softly, then melt cleanly in milk. The flavor? Mild, a little nutty, a little earthy, no sticky aftertaste, no fluorescent milk left behind like a science experiment gone wrong. It's boring to some kids, sure, but boring is exactly what you want when boring means safe. Here's where it matters most. Cheerios are made with whole grain oats, which the FDA has recognized for their ability to help lower cholesterol. That's not marketing fluff. That's documented science. Seniors managing blood pressure, cholesterol, or heart disease actually benefit from this bowl. Instead of stressing your system, Cheerios works with it. One nutritionist once called Cheerios the one cereal I don't mind my patients eating every day. That's not a glowing ad campaign. That's professional relief. Cheerios consistently tests lower in added sugar and sodium than its rivals, even when watchdog groups run independent lab checks. While flashy brands spend millions hiding dyes and additives, Cheerios quietly clears safety reviews and keeps its formula simple. You won't find red 40, yellow 5, or a sugar coating that rivals a donut. You'll find oats, a touch of starch, and not much else. Fruit or fraud? Not here. Now, does it taste like dessert? Number. But it doesn't need to. For seniors especially, Cheerios provide steady energy without spiking blood sugar, without hammering kidneys, and without leaving your pancreas begging for mercy. Add a handful of blueberries or a drizzle of raw honey, and you've got breakfast that feels both safe and satisfying. Do you still eat plain Cheerios, or did the flavored ones trick you? Because here's the catch. Once you wander into Honey Nut or Chocolate Cheerios, you're back in Sugarland. The original is where the safety lies. Stick with the yellow box if you want the real benefit. Original Cheerios, the oat that kept its promise. And for those who like real fiber, our last safe pick delivers. And finally, our second safe pick, shredded wheat. The cereal that proves simple can still be powerful. No cartoon leprechauns, no frosted glaze, no rainbow dyes, just thick woven blocks of wheat that crunch like dried twigs, then slowly soften in milk. That's not a flaw, that's the point. This is a cereal that doesn't hide behind sugar or marketing tricks. Fiber without fraud. Shredded wheat has 0 added sugar, not a sprinkle, not a drizzle, just whole wheat. That means you're getting natural fiber that keeps digestion moving without hammering your blood sugar. For seniors, that fiber is gold. It cuts constipation risk, steadies energy, and helps lower cholesterol. Compare that to Raisin Bran, which packs more sugar than a glazed donut, and you'll see why this plain box is a quiet winner. Would you switch to shredded wheat if you knew it beats every sugar bomb on this list? Doctors have been pointing to cereals like this for decades. The FDA notes that diets rich in whole grains reduce the risk of heart disease. You're not going to see shredded wheat trending on TikTok, but you'll see it recommended in real nutrition guides. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. likes to rant about what's safer in Europe. Well, here's the twist. Shredded wheat is safe everywhere because there's nothing to ban. No red 40, no yellow 5, no BHT preservatives, just wheat. Shredded wheat has outlasted every fad cereal. From Cap'n Crunch to Fruit Loops, they all came loaded with additives that sparked lawsuits, recalls, or bad press. Shredded wheat? It just sat on the shelf, unchanged, because there was nothing toxic to hide. And it isn't just safe, it's hearty. Bite into one dry, and it feels almost aggressive, like crunching through cardboard. But soak it in milk, and those thick layers break down into a warm, grainy mush that feels honest. No sticky glaze, no gummy interior, no neon milk, just wheat. Bland? Maybe. But bland can be life-saving. For seniors, that plainness is protection. No sodium overload to spike blood pressure, no added sugar to push insulin resistance, no chemicals to fight against kidney meds. Just steady, natural fuel that supports the body instead of sabotaging it. You want a quick fix? Add some fresh berries, sliced banana, or even a dusting of cinnamon. Suddenly, you've got sweetness without the sabotage. So while flashy brands push mascots and promises, shredded wheat stays honest. It doesn't slim your nutrition like Special K. It doesn't scrape your mouth like Cap'n Crunch. It doesn't leave you with fluorescent milk like Fruit Loops. It leaves you with exactly what it says. Shredded wheat. Shredded wheat. Proof that simple can still be powerful. Don't risk your health on bad choices. Subscribe now and I'll show you what to avoid and what's actually safe every single week.